This is the Realty Classroom Podcast, episode number 113, How to Handle Social Media During a Crisis. Are you a real estate agent with an entrepreneurial spirit who wants to turn your job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan or any plan to help you get there? Well, then, hey, you're definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. Now, to help you get started in a more strategic direction, I've created a free Jumpstart course for you, and it's waiting for you over at freeagentgift.com. Get over there. There's a downloadable, there's a through a video series where I go through each bullet point on how to get strategic. It's really about the way we think about the business, and you have to get up above it strategically to have an idea on how to do that, okay? freeagentgift.com. It's yours. All right. How to handle social media during a crisis. Why am I talking about this? Because we're in one. I know it'll be a little bit delayed by the time the podcast episode gets published. However, this is a bigger issue because crises are not going away. I happen to be in the middle of recording this during a back-to-back issue, and I have a mastermind group that I always share the insights from there with you all in the public and for free so that you see the insight into the struggle that we all face as small business people in the real estate business. And I'll tell you what, we had a very emotional call the other day. We do 3 group calls amongst, or beyond the one-on-one work I do with each of them. And it was emotional. And we started to talk about social media from a strategic standpoint, like I do most things with my mastermind group. We try to be strategic, and then we put the tactics in place that are a better strategy. And all of a sudden it got emotional. And quite a few people got emotional. And it was interesting that the call took that sort of a turn. So I thought to myself, well, this is a good moment to embrace. How do we deal with social media, which puts us in a weird spot anyway, because now all of a sudden everything's transparent. I mean, we're blending, or we're trying to understand how to blend our personal life with our business life, and the line has blurred dramatically. Right? I mean, it's really hard not to live right out there in front of everybody. So that put a lot of my members under pressure, and me too, quite frankly. I mean, they look to me for leadership and guidance. My huge social media following does the same. And, oftentimes I feel like I don't quite want to go there about how I personally feel, because I have an opportunity to stay positive, lead people in a positive way, even though I'm plenty human and I get upset about things. So we had to deal with this, and we put it on the table. So here are a couple of takeaways that we had that I thought would help all of you. And you can apply this to any crisis that affects our business or your life. It might be on your side. It might just be an individual crisis in your life that's affecting the way you are and the way you're speaking and the way you're being inside of your business. Remember, I had a good one-on-one with one of my clients today where we were talking about that. It's like, look, small business is a manifestation of who we are. And all those things that affect us permeate their way into the business, and people hear that. So there's this higher level of thinking amongst top producers who work on their business that, there's a magnetic thing that you're creating beyond the tactical. So if there's a negative energy, you're not magnetically attracting them, you're repelling them. Ever seen a magnet? When you try to put the same polar end together, it pushes away. So I think that has a lot to do with how we are doing emotionally. And if we can maintain at least a positive vibe, even when we're hurting, we tend to magnetically attract people even more so because they trust us, because we're authentic. So let's deal with this. How do you deal with this? First step here. What I believe we all need to do is take a breath and think logically first, which is so much easier said than done, right? Point 1, whoop, there it is. But I understand that when that crisis hits, it's confusing us. It collides into the rhythm of life, and it upsets the apple cart per se. And everything all of a sudden that was once organized, just like that, boom, is upside down. And we have to figure it out. We have that moment of panic, that moment of worry, right? Where all of a sudden, what do I do? My kids, my family, how do I put food on the table? Am I going to lose my job? Am I not going to get anybody to buy a house, sell a house? What's going to happen? And it spirals out of control quickly emotionally. To make matters worse, we live a lot of this live now on social platforms. The very place that we're trying to broadcast our business message, now we're living there personally. And like I said, those lines are blended. And now there's all the divisiveness that we have to deal with. People that take sides in a crisis to take advantage of us, to persuade us, to anger us, to confuse us, to trigger us. That's all happening. Whoo-wee. Man, is that a lot of disturbance. So I believe that, and you might even have to get off social for a little bit, turn the TV off, anything that has during a crisis that repetitive, you get it. Okay, here's the crisis. Is it nearby? Is it going to affect you? You know, do you want to watch that news and that feed for certain to make sure that you can be safe and that you're relatively well informed? And again, that's a trick these days, trying to sift and sort through it, but I get it. But then there's a point where it just starts to repeat itself over and over and over and over, and we're dancing on the head of the same pin, and everybody's getting emotional, and it's triggering other, pain inside of us. And the next thing you know, that's all mixed up in this Molotov cocktail of emotions. So breathe. Go for a walk. Just try to relax. Presuming it's safe, go for a walk, right? Presuming that you're wearing a mask and all these things that COVID and then all this terrible racial divide. Here we go again with all of this stuff that is making us not feel safe. So we might not even feel safe going outside. So breathe in the comfort of your own house, in a place you feel safe. Try to feel safe and calm for a minute and breathe and think logically. What does this actually mean for you? And is there any fact out there that you can hang on to instead of losing yourself in this whirlwind of emotion? Is there a fact? Is there something that you can grab onto, that you can hold on to, that is actually going to say, okay, here's what it really means. It did this. And again, this is a business context here, so I'm going to keep it that way. It did what to the real estate market immediately? What changes did the National Association make? What changes did your local association make? What changes did your company have to make? How has that affected the reality of selling a house, the reality of helping somebody buy a house? You have to just stick to the fact there and watch and observe and keep looking. And I would always recommend that when you're in that emotional state, you grab yourself a legal pad and a pen or pencil and you begin to write down what you can determine is as close to fact as you can get. And the great thing about the multiple listing service, it is going to provide you with fact. So when people say, oh, the market just fell apart, how do you know that? That's an emotional reaction. The only way you know that, and we did this during the COVID onset, we did a weekly update as to what was happening. We typically only do a monthly, but when COVID was putting the marketplace under pressure, we wanted to see, were there new properties coming on each week? Were there new properties going pending each week? See, that's all that logical thinking based in fact inside of our business. I mean, it either is or isn't inside the multiple listing service. There's no lying there because we have to put the information in and out. It's a pretty accurate place and a source, and that's our source. And the crazy thing is, as realtors, why are we listening to people that are on the outside talk about our industry when we're it? We are the market makers. We are the people that are part of that multiple listing marketplace. We have our own statistics. Get stats, look at them, and understand them, and that way you have a logical grip over the market, right? And that's really dovetails into the second point here. What is the real and immediate effect on the market? And that's what I was saying. So if I think logically, where can I get the best factual information, or at least close to 100% authentic? And that's why I said you think like a realtor and you go into the multiple listing service, pretty good place to start. Now, obviously, in addition to that, right, you think, okay, where can I get real stats on, for example, when COVID happened, it was not just the MLS we were going into for our statistics. It was also, in my case, Massachusetts. I was going to the Massachusetts government site to find statistics, hoping that they were telling the truth and that count was accurate on how many cases, how many deaths, so that I could get a grip on that. Was it increasing? Was it decreasing? Were there areas it was affecting more than others? So I had these two areas of fact. And so that second point I'm about to make here is I was able to determine what the real and immediate effect was on the market. So here's the fact on the crisis. What is it doing to the marketplace? And I could look at it daily if I wanted and report on it, weekly. I thought the weekly chunk made more sense. Unless you're in a really, really hot market with enormous amounts of transactions, a nice week is a chunk to say, all right, what happened this week versus last week and what are the trends? So those are real and immediate effects. So you see what I'm doing? Calm down from emotion to logical. Think, where can I get fact? Go get the facts. Find out how it's affecting the market for real. 2 easy beats. In fact, you should be doing it all the time. In fact, even if it's an internal crisis, a family crisis, whatever it might be, these things don't stop happening. These facts aren't out there. So you can get the fact on your own situation and get yourself under control too. And so now you ask, well, why was everybody so emotional on your call? And if you don't ask, I'll ask it for you because I asked myself. What triggered them? Why were they so upset? And from crisis to crisis, some people were upset about the first one and they weren't as confused about the other one or took action or whatever the case was. I mean, it was interesting to see some things affect people more than others, or some reactions are different because you don't know how it's triggering you. What does it mean to you? Right? I mean, if you're in your 70s and all of a sudden COVID and the pandemic hits and you hear all your friends are getting it and a lot of them dying, well, that affects you heavily and that scares the heck out of you. And now you're petrified and you're not going anywhere. You're not letting a realtor in your house. I know I said I was going to list this week, but I'm not. See, those are real things that are affecting us, and that's hurting you now. My gosh, I was so close to getting this great listing, and now this gal's not going to list. She's not going to let anybody in, and now I have to wait for the governor to open up my state, and my gosh, that's going to take... See where I'm going? That's affecting how you feel. So, although in the very beginning I talked more about the safety and the security of the crisis that comes, that's different from what I'm talking about now. Once we go through this, now we're back in this business and it's affecting, the double whammy is, it is affecting our business and we have to make these adjustments. So the question is, what's this got to do with social media and platforms? Well, it was interesting because social media is such a massive, heavy weight on us as small business people because we feel this obligation that we're supposed to be on it. We almost feel an obligation. Now, I can tell you as a pro at this and an expert and a guy who still does it every single day in the field. I run my brokerage and I still am involved heavily in listing and selling houses. When I say heavily, I'm completely leveraged with a system that I try to share with you every week I come here. I'm trying to give you away the strategies that leverage me to be able to sit here with you, coach people, grow, a family with 5 kids. Yes, I do it all and I'm not exhausted because I keep working on strategic approach. So when something like this happens, I start to feel, hey, wait a minute, I'm okay. I'm okay, and it's all going to be okay. And I have these certain things in control, and now I know how to look at the logic of the moment. And now social media, a lot of it's this negative force. Why can't I use it to be a positive force? Why can't I now go to that platform and do the breaking news update? And give to people and be the person that gives the real fact. I procured it. I curated it. And now why don't I just go there and say, I have it for you? If I did nothing else but to say, look, I know we have this. Go to the CDC site. Go to mass.gov. You'll get those stats. That's where I got them. I think those are the best sources. But let me tell you what's happening in the market. Let me give you the logic of the moment. And then how I say that, as a professional, I become this person who's feeling, hey, I can affect a positive outcome during this crisis by at least helping somebody else calm down, not guess, not worry, by delivering these curated facts in a nice, clean way. See where I'm going? Thank God for social media. I get to go out there and affect more people positively in the geography within which I serve. It's pretty cool, actually. But if I had gotten stuck on step 1 and I go down this rabbit hole of feeling overly emotional because there's a crisis and I'm glued to my TV, I'm not taking any action. Right? I'm not taking any action. So now people say, well, what if I get on there and I'm a little bit emotional? Fine, be human. Be human. I still think at some point in time, don't rush to social and just throw up all over people. I'm talking in a professional context. If you want to do something personally, who am I to tell you what to do and not to do? I'm not. And so if you want to get involved in social media channels to really express yourself in an unbridled way, that's your business. But as your coach and guide here, I'm saying, look, you have this professional context. And people are looking for people that are pros, professional acting. That's what they want. Think about what's going on in crisis. We demand more from our leadership. We want them to be more professional. Stop being so divisive, we scream. Okay, what about you? What about you as that realtor professional? Are you walking that walk? What a great opportunity for you to do so, act the way that you would like to see other pros act, because the only one you can really control is you. So if you're hiding and you're crying and you're not stepping back up at some point in time, I know you're hurting. I know that, but there's no better way to cure the way you're hurting than to take action, positive action, by the way. Not negative action. Positive action heals you, and more importantly, it serves others. It's a double whammy winner. A double whammy winner. And I just don't think there's a better way for you to build a business than in a crisis, because it makes you just iron out the best of you. And it's okay if your voice cracks a little bit. It's okay if you have a somber tone to it. If that's the way you feel about the situation, great. But don't you stop for 1 second to deliver the information professionally. Don't get lost. Don't go off on something. This is a professional context. When I'm doing these podcasts for you, I have my outline in front of me, so don't get lost. I look over here at the timer. If you see me looking around a little bit, I am organized in this context for you. You do that for people. Okay? That's what you need to do. We are leaders. We are guides. Be organized. So my fourth point here off of my organized chart is the most important one. It's okay to show some emotion, but don't lose it. Get yourself under control. And if you have to do several videos, and maybe you're not ready for live yet, maybe this is hurting you too much. Maybe you have to do 3, 4, 5, 6 takes so that you can get the message out. But be that curator, because the fourth point is, regardless of any circumstances, as a real estate agent, you have an obligation to lead. Let me repeat that. Regardless of any crises, circumstances, you have an obligation to lead as a real estate agent. And what that means is that this is a very serious transaction, highlighted by crisis. When people all of a sudden get scared that they're going to lose their home during a recession, or that, they're scared of where they live during a pandemic and just have to get out quickly, or are scared of living in a city where there's violence and want to go rural, that's real. That is really important and real. And so you have an obligation with that license to say, I can guide you. And I'm not even talking about getting them to do business with you. I'm saying social media, get out there and guide them. Be your own news station, your own production studio, and go out there and guide them. Here's what's happening in this crisis. Here's what I think it means for sellers. Here's what I think it means for buyers. And whatever it is that you think, there are the facts. And you can DM me, you can call me, you can do whatever. You can reach out to me and I will guide you. And if that guidance has you just comfortable and saying, okay, I think I'll just stay where I'm at for right now. Thank you so much for calming me down. You have scored, my friends. You have done the right thing as a real estate agent. It's not always about getting the next client and selling the next house. Yes, that's important. Yes, this is a business and it needs to be profitable. I understand. But in a world of transparency, we're not always selling something. A lot of the time we're guiding. And we have this tremendous opportunity with these social platforms to be a guide, and they need us more than ever during a crisis. Let me summarize. How do you handle having to be part of this social media world during a crisis? 1, take a breath when it happens and try to think logically, no matter how scared you are or how upside down. 2, What is the real and immediate effect on the market? You can find that out by going in as a realtor into the marketplace and getting statistics, curate them. 3, it's okay to let the world know how you feel as you begin to bring that to them via social media. Just don't lose it because they're hoping for somebody to have it together about these answers. What does it mean for the market? 4, regardless of any type of these circumstances, you have an obligation to lead. Do not hide under your bed. Get out there on social media and continue to give away information that can make somebody else's life less stressful, because ultimately shelter is about security, and during a crisis, there's no greater threat. It's exactly why I got into this business for this moment. All right, let me summarize this by saying this. When a real crisis affects your marketplace and beyond, not just your marketplace, but beyond, it's okay to be human. Feel the pain and suffering. However, it's also important to remember that this very crisis will cause many people to have an urgent need to move, and you must step up and lead them. All right, enough of me. Here we go. Remember, you can take immediate action to get more strategic and be prepared for this stuff by getting our free simple plan that's waiting for you over at freeagentgift.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes if you like to listen to podcasts, and that's where you learn. iTunes and Spotify, and I know there's others. We're there too, but especially those two. We also broadcast live, so you can hear what's really happening on a sales training call, either on Facebook or YouTube every Friday at 1 EDT. People bring me their telephone calls, they bring me their scenarios, and I deal with them and I give it away. I let you transparently look in to what's happening so you can hear how real estate agents and their telemarketers, staff, how everybody's dealing with this, all right? So turn on those notifications and you won't miss out. Just find the Realty Classroom over on YouTube and Facebook. Pretty easy to find. We also appreciate this. Okay, I haven't said this before on this podcast. I'm going to ask you to do this. Do me a favor, when you see our stuff, will you comment on the posts? I read those things. I live for those things. It's one thing to sit here and wonder what you're thinking and hoping. I mean, thank God for my mastermind group that I get to hear them and then maybe just share it. Maybe I resonate with you, but I'd rather hear from you. I'd rather see you comment on our posts, comment on the YouTube stuff, comment on the Facebook stuff, and I'll look for it. And if there are subjects that need to be covered here, you let me know. I'd like to hear more about this, and we'll go there for you, okay? But remember, I appreciate that you're coming here to listen to me. But remember, nobody is coming for you. Nobody. I'm trying my best to help you, but I can't come out there for you. You've got to go to get to work on your own business, okay? Otherwise, I will see you out there on social media. I hope you're well and you're safe and you stay strong and you grow, because that's what leaders do when things get tough. They grow. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.